Hello students, myself Dr. Jyoti C.K., Assistant Professor, Department of Physics. Title of the paper, Optical Instruments, Laser and Electrodynamics. In a previous class, we learnt about the aberration and its types of aberration. So today class, we will be learning about the spherical aberration. So let us consider now a convex lens. O is the object point on the principal axis. Now the monochromatic light is incidented on a lens. The ray which hit the lens in the smaller area around the center of the lens, that we call it as a paraxial ray, and they are brought to focus at a point IP. Now the ray hitting at the point top and bottom of the lens, we call it as a marginal ray, and they are made to focus at the point IM. So here now you incident the monochromatic light, so undergoes a refraction, so paraxial rays are meeting at the point IP and marginal rays are meeting at the point IM. Now the focal length of the IP means a paraxial ray is a greater compared to the focal length of the marginal ray. Focal length means the center point of the lens to the point IM. This is the focal length for the marginal ray and this is the focal length for the paraxial ray. From this figure we can say that the focal length for the paraxial rays is more compared to the focal length for the marginal ray here. The rays between the paraxial and the marginal ray meets at the point intermediate between the IP and an IM here. Here we can see now IP and an IM here. The images what we are getting here, it is not a well defined images along the axis of the lens here. It is due to why it is happening here, why the images is not well defined here, because of the different annular zones of the lenses having the different focal length here. Again, why it is happening? Because of the varying radii of a curvature, due to which we are not getting a well defined images. I have written here. As a result, instead of getting the sharp images, we are getting the extended images or not a well defined images. Okay, we are not getting here the clear images because the IP is meeting at this point, IM is meeting at this point. Now the rays between the paraxial and the marginal rays are meeting at the point intermediate between the IP and the IM, due to which we are not getting the well defined images. We are getting some extended images we are getting here. Means there is an aberration is there, there is a defect is there. That defects, now we are studying about this spherical aberration. That itself we call it as a spherical aberration. Okay students, means spherical aberration is nothing but a defect due to the spherical shape in which the marginal and the paraxial rays are not brought to focus at the single point on the principal axis of the lenses. It has been shown here in this figure. Because marginal rays are meeting at this point, paraxial rays are meeting at this point, they are not brought to focus at the single point here. That itself is known as a spherical aberration. This is a definition about the spherical aberration. Suppose now, if the screen is kept perpendicular to the axis at the AB, here, this is a AB. If the screen is placed at the AB, the image is going to appear now. Image will be appearing like a circular patch of the diameter AB. Here you are getting a circular patch here. Make a concentration here. You are getting a circular patch here of a diameter AB. So this patch of a diameter AB, we call it as a circle of the least confusion. This we call it as a circle of the least confusion. I have written here. The circle of the least confusion means the circular patch of the least diameter AB is known as a circle of the least confusion. Then the distance between the IP and the IM is known as a longitudinal spherical aberration. Here I will show now. Distance here IP and the IM, this we call it as a longitudinal spherical aberration. Means here spherical aberration is again classified into two types. Longitudinal spherical aberration. Another name for the longitudinal spherical aberration is an axial spherical aberration. This is a one type of the spherical aberration. Then another one, what is that? The radius of the circle of the least confusion is known as a lateral spherical aberration. Radius of the circle of the least confusion. Here we can see now. Already I have explained there. At this AB, the image is going to appear as a circular patch. We are getting the circular patch. So the radius of the circle of the least confusion is known as a lateral spherical aberration. Okay. So till now what we learnt here? We learnt about the spherical aberration. What do you mean by the spherical aberration? Why the spherical aberration is happening here? And again spherical aberration is of the two types, longitudinal and the lateral spherical aberration. So now we will continue. What are the steps to reduce the spherical aberration? So here different methods are there to reduce the spherical aberration. The first method by using the stop method. This is a one method. Here we can see now. One is an allowing, another one has been stopped here. A solid, there's a dashed lines has been shown here. Again here the dashed lines has been shown here at the center point. Here allowed, here it is not allowed. What are allowed, what are not allowed? We will check it out now. So here by stop method means in a spherical aberration what you are getting here, you are having the two rays, marginal rays and paraxial rays. Both are meeting at the different points here, due to which you are having the aberration. That is a spherical in a shape here. That is a spherical aberration you are getting now. Okay student? So now what happens here, stop method, the name itself indicating the stop, means it is the method which it allow only the one ray to pass through it. Means it will allow either paraxial rays or else it will allow the marginal rays. It will not allow both the rays. It will allow only the paraxial ray and stops the marginal ray, or else it will allow the marginal rays and stops the paraxial rays. Any can be possible here. So this, because of which intensity of the images will get reduced here. It is allowing only the paraxial, not allowing the marginal rays, or allowing the marginal rays, not allowing the paraxial rays, due to which what happening here, intensity of the images will get reduced here. So generally this method is not used here. But this is the method from which we can reduce the spherical aberration. Okay student? So next one, second one, using the plano-convex lens here. This is the method from which we can reduce the spherical aberration. So we will learn now how we can reduce now spherical aberration. Just we will check it out here. So now spherical aberrations can be reduced by using the plano-convex lens with the curved surface. Make a note here, curved surface facing towards the incident or emergent, whichever is more parallel. I will show here now. Curved surface, they are told here, curved surface towards here. This is the curved surface. Here in the first figure we can see now, curved surface is facing towards the emergent ray. Here a curved surface is facing towards the incident ray. The ray which is entering here, we call this one as an incident. The ray which is coming out, we call it as an emergent ray. Okay, whichever is more parallel, they are told. Okay, suppose now a beam of light, a parallel beam of light is now incidented on the plane surfaces. What happens here? Now we will see here in this figure. Plane surfaces. Now you are incidenting the ray of light. A parallel beam of light is incidented on the plane surfaces. So what happens here? When the ray will passes through the plane surfaces, it will goes undeviated. There is no change in the path of the ray of the light here. It will go simply, it will move from the plane surfaces easily. When it reaches to the second surface, that is the curved surface, we can see that there is a deviation is taking place here. Deviation is taking place at the curved surfaces, due to which deviation means a change in the path of the ray of the light is known as a deviation. A deviation is going to take place in the second surfaces. Therefore, we can see again here marginal rays are meeting at this point, paraxial rays again are meeting at this point here. So the deviation is now shared by only one surface. Means which surface? Curved surface. So now the spherical aberrations cannot be minimized here. Right students? Here the explanation has been written now. Rays will produce a undeviated from the first surface and deviation at the second surface. Second surface means the curved surfaces here. Here second surface is a curved surface, due to which spherical aberration is not reduced. Now consider, now change the position of this plano-convex lens. Place the convex lens in this way, plane surface should be in this way. What happens now? Now again incident the parallel beam of the light on the curved surface. So what happens here? As the light is made to pass through the curved surface, the deviation is going to take place here. And further deviation is also continuing at the second position also. Second surface is also deviation is. Means the deviation is now shared by the two surfaces. Here only shared by the one surfaces. Which surface? Curved surface. Here curved surface plus plane surface. Means deviation is shared by the two surfaces. Means spherical aberrations can be reduced in the second figure, not in the first figure. So this is another method to reduce the spherical aberration. Okay. Another method is there. What is the third method? Using the two plano-convex lenses. Now, instead of making use of the one plano-convex lens, in the previous one we learnt about the one plano-convex lens. What happens there? How you will place the plano-convex lens. Depending upon that, the spherical aberration is reduced there. Now, make use of the two plano-convex lens and separate by the certain distance, as it is shown in this figure. I will show here now. Now, the two plano-convex lenses are there. Both are separated by this distance, that is a small d here. So, O1 is the center point of this lens. O2 be the center point of this one. Another lens. Two plano-convex lenses are there. Okay. Both are separated by the distance, that is a small d. From this lens to the F1, it is separated by the distance of F1. There is a small F1. From this point to this point, it is separated by the distance of F1 minus d, because from this to this it is a F1. From this to this it is a d here. Take a separation of this one, you will get this distance, F1 minus d here. So let us consider now delta. Delta be the angle of the deviation, which is produced by the each lenses. Okay, each lens is going to produce an angle of the deviation, that is a delta here. So now let us consider the triangle that is a B, F1, G. There is an angle of the deviation. And another one, an angle of deviation is an F1, B and a G. This one are the angle of the deviation. So now from the triangle that is an B, G, F1, BG is equivalent to GF1. The whatever the distance is that from the BG is the same as an GF1. Or else another way, O2G is equivalent to GF1. This one is an approximately I am telling here. O2G is equivalent to GF1. So this O2G. Now we will try to know the distance of this O2G here. Okay. O2G. O2G here. Now we wanted to know the distance of this O2G. I have written here O2G is nothing but half of the distance of F1 minus D here. Because from O2 to F1, what is the distance? F1 minus D. Now we are at the center point. That is a half distance we are here. So I can write now O2G is nothing but half of the O2 F1. So therefore O2 F1 is nothing but F1 minus D here. So for the second lens, F1 is a virtual object and G is the real image. Now substitute the value of the object as well as an image distance in this formula. That is 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F2. Substitute now image distance as well as an object distance. Both you are substituting now here. In place of 1 by V, in the place of V I have substituted as an O2G. In place of U, that is a O2 F1. Here O2 F1 is equal to 1 by F2. O2G is, what is that O2G? O2G is nothing but I have written here half of the F1 minus D. Take a reciprocal of this one. So this becomes now 2 by F1 minus D. And O2 F1, what is the O2 F1? F1 minus D here. Substitute now 1 by F2. So again subtract these two. What will get? 1 divided by F1 minus D, and take cross multiplication. You will get D is equal to F1 minus F2, or else F2 is equal to F1 minus D here. Okay, student. So thus condition for the minimum spherical aberration is that distance between the two lenses should be equal to the difference in their focal length, that is F1 minus F2. So this is the method from which we can reduce the spherical aberration. So now we will move to the another point, that is the fourth method, is another method where we can reduce a spherical aberration. That is by using the combination of convex and a concave lenses. Now we are using both concave and convex lenses. So previous class I have explained there, I have shown the image also convex and concave. You can go through that images. Okay. So concave and convex lenses. So here what happens in the convex lens? In the convex lens, the marginal ray is IM. IM is lying towards the left of the paraxial rays. I already have shown here. Okay. In the first slide itself I have shown that. Here we can see now, we can see here the marginal rays are lying towards the left of the paraxial rays. That is in the case of the convex lens, due to which the spherical aberration will be the positive. Okay, spherical aberration will be the positive for the convex lens. And similarly for the concave lens, what happens here, the spherical aberration is going to become a negative here. Spherical aberration is going to become a negative. I have written here, spherical aberration for the convex lens is a positive, while the concave lens it is a negative here. In the concave lens, what happens here, the marginal rays IM is lying towards the right of the paraxial rays, so it is a negative. So thus by the proper combination of the convex and the concave lenses, spherical aberration can be reduced further. So this is the fourth method where we can reduce a spherical aberration. Move to the fifth method, by using the cross lenses. Cross lenses means is here nearly the plano convex lens. It has been observed that the refractive index for the lenses is a 1.5 here. If you take the ratio between the radii of a curvature of the two surfaces of the lenses, that is -6, means R2 by R1 is a -6, then the lenses having this relationship between the curvature of their surfaces, that we call as a cross lenses. So cross lenses, by using the cross lenses we can reduce the spherical aberration. So today's class, what we learnt here, what do you mean by the spherical aberration, a longitudinal spherical aberration, lateral spherical aberration, methods to reduce the spherical aberration. In the next class we will be learning with another topic, that is a chromatic aberration. Okay student, thank you.